I do have a question, Les, about how to make best use of the bespoke profiles you build. So let's spend a couple of minutes to finish off on this idea. And it's quite straightforward. And being a tutorial, what I will do is I'll refer to some of our notes, some of the research papers where we talk about distinctions in process, distinctions in the methodology by which we go about trying to render or create this or that. Because really that's at the heart of why we make these profile variants. So I'll show you what I mean. This is our paper on our profile variants. It's on the website and in color artistry, and digital fine art, printmaking workshops, notes and resources. And I begin with this idea that the International Color Consortium's colorimetric conversion from a source gamut, sRGB, Adobe RGB, to a destination gamut, such as a printer profile, this converts our image numbers. It's all about this conversion of the image numbers from, let's say, Adobe RGB to the printer profile in order to satisfactorily render all sorts of considerations in the final print. Now, at the very least, those considerations are colorimetric considerations. So the color, its intensity, its hue, its lightness and darkness, the tonal scale, shadow separation, those colorimetric properties become satisfactorily rendered. But what does that really mean? Now, within our profile variants, and I'll use for our P900 A2 desktop Epson printer for Canson Platine FiberRag paper, I've got 4 variants here: BPWC, BPWD, BPWN, BPWS. Okay, so I'll just talk about these 4 variants, even though in this paper we illuminate many more options, which are increasingly specialized. But to begin with, inside those profiles, we have rendering intents, ways we convert the source numbers to the destination numbers to preserve or satisfactorily render certain qualities, which we can control through this ICC process. We have a colorimetric rendering, which is designed to be as numerically accurate as possible. So I measure with a sophisticated apparatus the original color values on a monitor, and then I make a print with a colorimetric intent, and with another sophisticated instrument, I measure the resulting printed colors. Now, a colorimetric rendering is trying to render those numbers in one derivative, my monitor's appearance, and another derivative, a print of that same file, as close as is possible for in-gamut colors. We have 2 variations on colorimetric rendering: relative colorimetric, which moves the white point of the source, let's say Adobe RGB, to the white point of the paper. And with black point compensation added to that colorimetric rendering, the black point of it, in this case, Adobe RGB, is mapped to the blackest black that printer combination can print. We also have absolute colorimetric, where the white point of Adobe RGB is not converted, but preserved, and all the colors are scaled accordingly on the printed paper. And that's a proofing intent, where the file will be printed on a printing press or on my large format printer, and we're proofing it on our small format printer. Now, Perceptual is completely different. In one sense, it's how do you print colors that are out of gamut and have them, even though they're not numerically accurate, have them look right or feel right. So here it's rationalist, it's truth-telling, indexicality. Here it's pure poetry in the eye of the beholder and the creator of that perceptual table. So profile variants. And we just designate them with a tag on the end of that profile name. The colorimetric intents are similar between these profiles. BPWN, BPWC, the colorimetric intents tweaked to be more linear, more accurate according to my sense of what is a perfectly linear tonal scale than our BPWS. All right? So the colorimetric intents are even slightly more accurate. We can see the difference, but it's not a huge difference. The huge difference is in the perceptual tables. And we go on page after page, all sorts of different intents, BPWLs, WDs. Now, BPWDs, the colorimetric intent is no different to our BPWN. And I would use that for fine art reproduction, or the reproduction where the colorimetric values Not just the look and the feel, but the numerical values need to be as identical as they can between screen and print. But then BPWD, D for the darkroom, D for depth, D for dimensionality, because this is the tonal rendering from my favorite prior to 1986 silver gelatine, chlorobromide, darkroom emulsions. In particular, grade 2 Portriga Rapid in my favorite highly restrained acidified amidol developer. Depth development, three-dimensionality with a soft gloss surface. That is what my perceptual table does. And now, C for colourful, N has the same tonal curve as C, but it doesn't have the colorimetric enhancements. And the enhancements are different for glossy papers compared to matte papers. For example, if I'm comparing platine fiber rag with, let's say, rag photographique, similar white points, but smooth matte and smooth gloss, I have the same relative colorimetric renderings, but different perceptual renderings for the rag photographique and the Canson platine for one simple reason, and that is to make the two prints colorimetrically look as close as can be, even though one is on a matte surface and one is on a beautiful soft gloss surface. So that's me poetically tweaking and moving colours around according to my feelings. So this is not the same rendering on rag photographique as on Baryta photographique. It's not the same as a BFK Reeves or Somerset enhanced velvet and so forth. I'm tweaking all manner of other things. And if I go to a paper like Fine Art Printing Characterization, and I'll go to page 6, this is another reason behind making the best use of the bespoke profiles. If we look at ISO 36640, there are two viewing conditions stipulated, P1 and P2. P2 is the practical appraisal of prints, where, according to my research, the average brightness that prints are likely to be viewed under is 400 to 500 lux. Now, this is the interesting problem, though, and this is another reason behind our profile variants and how I make them to overcome some of these contradictions and real-world problems. If we take our LAB printing target, which comes with quite a few of the workshops, there's 100% paper white, whatever I'm printing it on. There's 99%, 1% darker than paper white, 98, 97. There's maximum black. And you should be able to get a sense. I can just see 1, I can just see 2, I can clearly see 5, and so on. We're looking at the TIFF target in a Photoshop or some other color managed application. So we print this with our standard rendering. And we look at it under 400 to 500 lux of incident light, and the highlights are going to be fine. The problem is down in the deep shadows where we put more and more ink on the paper, and the light has to penetrate through the pigmentation to reflect off the white paper base and is filtered again coming back out. Now, the problem is under the average viewing conditions, and I've got my screen calibrated to ISO 12646 for displays for soft proofing, and I'm working in an ISO 3664 working environment, so I can more or less fully adapt to the screen. And I've set the monitor brightnesses to be compliant with these ISOs at 80 candelas, which is a close visual match to paper white that reflects around 95 to 97% of the 500 lux incident illumination. And I can see on my screen 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 is just there, but in a relative colorimetric with black point compensation print viewed under these conditions, and I can't see it. Yet I've even measured the maximum black of my paper to determine what the ratio of black to white paper is, 200 to 1, for example, on a semi-matte soft gloss paper. I then calibrate my monitor to a maximum peak brightness of 80 candelas, but also set my black point to 0.4. Therefore, the contrast of my monitor is 200 to 1. The contrast of my print on that semi-matte soft gloss paper is 200 to 1. Nope, can't see those darkest values. It is a massive contradiction. So I begin reducing the ink density. So under 500 lux of incident light, more light gets through and reflected back so I can see those numbers. But now I don't have maximum black and my prints suck. They look less than they can possibly be. And with this viewing geometry, under 500 lux incident light, under these quite carefully orchestrated, precise viewing conditions, and our lighting theory paper, there's the ISO setup under which we're making these judgments, and so on and so forth. They're the notes and the characterizations that help us understand these differences. Guess what the perceptual tonal curve is in a BPWN, a BPWC profile? Not the colorimetric mapping of the colors. I've created a perceptual table that for different papers lifts those shadow values to different extents, as I talk about in the characterizing paper, so that here on my ISO compliant monitor calibration, 200:1, blah, 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 under 500 lux of my beautiful proofing light, looking at those test chart prints, highlights and shadows, I keep tweaking. We've done this over decades. How we get from black to white for different papers, different ink sets, different total area coverage, in each case, as much ink as that particular media can hold. But then all the shadow details to middle grey are remapped so that what I perceive here under my 500 lux proofing light against my 200:1 80 candela calibrated monitor in an ISO compliant viewing environment, so I can fully adapt more or less to my screen, then not only is the reds the same red, the greens are the same green, the skin tones are the same skin tones, but suddenly my little 1, 2, 3, 4, 5% brighter than maximum black, let alone 99, 98, 97, it's identical. So in terms of making the best use of our bespoke profiles, and typically we send out a BPWS and a BPWC, and when people are interested in black and white, but they might be printing through Mirage where you can't use custom black and white profiles, I also include a BPWD variant. So you can work with our beautiful black and white renderings with a very low special metamerism index and ink inconstancy index, as I've gone over in other tutorials, in other workshops. And that's how we make best use of those bespoke profiles. And if you look at the profile variants paper, you see all these different variations that we can make to deal with increasingly special conditions. So hopefully that is a helpful update, an addendum on working with our bespoke profile variants, as was requested.